Okay, you're welcome to FEMSAM Edu Consultancy channel. Today we'll be solving a question on empirical formula and molecular formula, and we'll be taking our question from JUPEP past question 2015, question 32 precisely. Before I will solve this question, I want us to quickly recall and refresh our memory of what we have known about empirical formula and molecular formula, because at the end of this video I will drop some questions for you to attempt, just to increase your knowledge, or possibly to examine how far you've known much about empirical formula and molecular formula. So what is empirical formula and what is molecular formula? Now, empirical formula is the simplest formula that shows the ratios of the number of elements present in one molecule of that compound. Okay, while molecular formula is the formula that shows the actual number of atoms present in one molecule of the element or the compound. Okay, which means that we can have the molecular formula of an element or that of a compound. So if we are to define it accurately now, it means that molecular formula of an element or a compound is the formula that shows the actual number of atoms, okay, present in one molecule of that element or that compound. Are you getting it now? So when you check it, it means that for example, I take an example of glucose. We have the chemical formula for glucose is C6H12O6. In one molecule of glucose, there are 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen, and 6 oxygen. What is the ratio of combination of the atoms present in this chemical representation? You will see that the ratio, this is like the ratio is given by, in terms of number of atoms, 6 to 12 to 6. And if we decide to divide through by 6, what do we have? We have 1 to 2 to 1. This will imply that for every 1 carbon, we have 2 hydrogen atoms to what? 1 oxygen atom. So if I can get a formula that reflects this ratio, which is going to be what? CH2O. This CH2O is referred to as the empirical formula. Alright? While this C6H12O6 is referred to as the molecular formula. In this formula, okay, this is the simplest formula that shows that shows the ratios of the number of atoms that are present in one molecule of the compound. So this is not the actual formula of glucose, okay, but this is the empirical formula for glucose. Do you understand now? So that is just to draw our attention or to remind us of what we've already known. Now, is there any relationship between empirical formula and molecular formula? You will recall that if glucose could be seen as H12O6, for example, and we see the empirical formula to be CH2O. How can this empirical formula be written as this? You will notice that if I decide to multiply each of these ratio or the component atom by 6, I will get this back. That means that 6 times this will give me the whole of this. So generally, molecular formula is usually a multiple of the empirical formula. Okay? It's very important that you need to take notes of that. Molecular formula is equal to the multiple of empirical formula. It's a multiple of empirical formula, where this n is a natural number, okay? It's an integer. All right, precisely a positive integer. Okay, so now what do we do? How do we calculate empirical formula? It's very important that you need to remember that to calculate empirical formula is either you are given the percentage composition of the elements that make up that compound, or you are given the masses. Given the mass or the masses of the element that make up that compound. Either of those two will be provided. And once you have that, the next thing you have to do is that you need to know the relative atomic mass, or the relative atomic mass, yes, of the element that are present in that compound. So the algorithm or the steps to be taken is to know the percentage composition of the element that make up that compound, or the given masses of the compound, then know the relative atomic masses of the element that make up that compound. So once you know that, you can divide the percentage composition or the given masses by their relative atomic masses. Okay, whatever you get, you can now decide to look through which one of them is the smallest number. Then you divide through by the smallest number to know the ratio of the ratios of the number of atoms, okay, present in that formula, in the one molecule of that formula. So that will help you to get the relative molecular formula. The empirical formula, sorry. But to get the molecular formula, you need the empirical formula to be able to get the molecular formula. And I want you to take note, in every molecular formula that you'll be asked to derive, they must give you the relative molecular mass of the compound. Should they not give you the relative molecular mass of the compound, it's either they will give you the vapor density of that compound. And you need to know that the relative molecular mass of the compound is related to vapor density by this equation. The relative molecular mass of a compound is equal to twice the vapor density of that compound. The vapor density of the compound, okay? If they did not give you this, then they will give you other information that will help you to get the relative molecular mass of the compound, like in this particular question, okay? So we are going to see how we apply what we have known to be able to solve this problem. So let's start. Okay, so we have been told that 0.200 mole of a hydrocarbon undergo complete combustion to give 35.2 gram of carbon dioxide and 14.4 gram of water as the only product. What is the molecular formula of the hydrocarbon? Is it C2H4, C2H6, C4H4, or C4H8? Okay, the first thing you need to take note is, what is a hydrocarbon? Okay, that's a compound that contains carbon and hydrogen. That's all. All right, so that shows that if I am to get the molecular formula of the hydrocarbon, my formula must contain carbon and hydrogen. I just now need, because they are asking for molecular formula, it means I need the actual, I need a formula that contains the actual number of atoms that is present in one molecule of that particular hydrocarbon. And to be able to get that molecular formula, I will need to first get the empirical formula. If I don't know the empirical formula, it will be difficult to get the molecular formula. Do you understand now? So how do I get the empirical formula of this compound? Don't forget I said, to get the empirical formula, is either we make use of percentage composition of the element that make up that compound. When we look at the question, were we given percentage composition? No. 0.200 mole of the hydrocarbon was what we have been given. Okay, and we're told that hydrocarbon undergo complete combustion. That means that hydrocarbon was exposed to oxygen. Okay, and the product of that reaction gives us 35.2 gram of carbon dioxide and 14.4 gram of water. Okay, so now I understood something. suppose I don't understand the whole chemical reaction that took place. I remember from the law of conservation of matter that matter can neither be created nor destroyed in the chemical process, but can be converted from one form to another. Okay, so in this process, the reaction of carbon, hydrocarbon, undergoing complete combustion produce carbon dioxide and water. That shows that all the carbon present in that hydrocarbon, can now be found in carbon dioxide, and all the hydrogen present in that hydrocarbon is now found in that water, because water is H2O. So that shows that the masses of the carbon and the hydrogen in the hydrocarbon are now hidden inside that of what? Carbon dioxide and water. So all I need to do is now analyze. Whatever be the mass of carbon inside carbon dioxide must have been the mass of carbon present in the hydrocarbon. And whatever be the mass of hydrogen present in water must have been the mass of hydrogen present in the hydrocarbon, because none of the masses of the carbon and the hydrogen in hydrocarbon can be lost in the process. Okay, the hydrogen there was being made use of, and we see it produced in form of water. The carbon present was being made use of, and we see it produced in terms of carbon dioxide. Do you understand? Don't be confused. So our duty first is look at the template. I need to have my carbon, I need to have my hydrogen. So that you understand, the first thing is that I need the mass of this carbon. I need the mass of carbon, mass of hydrogen. But you will take note that they didn't give us the mass of carbon. They only gave us the mass of carbon dioxide produced. They didn't give us the mass of hydrogen. They only gave us the mass of water produced. Do you understand now? So they want us to use this given information to get the mass of carbon and hydrogen present. Do you understand now? So see what we are going to do. So before I start analyzing, I need to first take the step of getting the quantity of carbon, that's the mass of carbon present in hydrocarbon, and mass of hydrogen present in that hydrocarbon. So how do I do that? Now look at it. But what is 1 mole? 1 mole of carbon dioxide, do you understand now, contains, check it, 1 mole of carbon dioxide is like CO2, because that's the number of mole 1, CO2, okay? How many grams of carbon do you think is present in 1 mole of carbon dioxide? You will see that it is 12 grams. Okay, because don't forget the relative atomic mass of carbon is 12 grams. Okay, so 1 mole of carbon dioxide contains 12 grams of carbon. Do you get it? So now, what is the mass? But they didn't give us the number of moles of this carbon dioxide. They only gave us the mass of it. So one of the things we need to do is, what is the mass present in 1 mole of carbon dioxide? That means the relative molecular mass of carbon dioxide. What is the mass? You will realize that this implies 1 mole, this is 12 grams. Oxygen is how many? Oxygen is 16. Relative atomic mass of oxygen is 16. There are 2 atoms of oxygen. So multiplied by 2, what do you have? We have 32. So if we add 32 to 12, you are going to have 44. What that implies is that in 1 mole of 1 mole of carbon dioxide is actually 44 grams. That shows that 44 grams of carbon dioxide contains 12 grams of carbon. So look at it. 44 grams of CO2 contains how many grams of carbon? 12 grams of carbon. So the next thing I'm going to do is now, if 44 grams of CO2 contains 12 grams of carbon, how many grams will this one now contain? 35. Therefore, 35.2 grams of carbon dioxide will contain how many? Let's say it contains X of carbon. Our duty is to get this X, okay? Mathematically, our X will become the ratio of the product of 3, 35.2 and 12 to 44. How did I arrive at that? It looks like a shortcut, okay? The thing there is that it looks like you are cross multiplying. That cross multiplying that I said is still a shortcut. You can always analyze it. It's just that I want to save time. That's why I did it this way. So look at the analysis, but I will not be following the analysis. It is understandable, this approach. One of the things you need to take note is that 44 grams of this contains 12 grams. So can you get how many? 1 gram of this will now contain how many? You realize that 1 gram of CO2 will contain, it's like dividing both masses by 44. It will contain 12 over 44 grams of carbon. So if 1 gram of CO2 contains 12 over 44 of carbon, what will now 35.2 grams of CO2 now contain? This is like 35 times 1 gram. Sorry, 35.2 gram, 35.2 times 1 gram of CO2. And 1 gram of CO2 is 22 over 4. So if you introduce it, you are going to have 35.2 times 12 over 44. Do you see? 35.2 times 12 over 44. So the shortcut we always use to teach is just say that when you get your area cross multiply, 44 times x equal to 35.2 times 12. Since 44 is beside x, you now divide both sides by 44. That will result to this. Do you understand now? This is in gram, this is in gram, this is in gram. Okay? Gram will terminate gram. You still have your resulting answer in grams. Do you get it? So this will become, what is going to 9.6. This is 9.6 grams. Okay? What this implies is that inside this hydrocarbon, the quantity, the mass of carbon there is 9.6. That's what it means. So also, we will take note of this because that's what we need. Alright? I need to take note of 9.6 grams of carbon. Let me write it here so I won't forget because I'm going to wipe it off. Gram of carbon. Okay. Also, what about water? 1 mole of water, 1 mole of water, H2O, okay, contains what? How many grams of hydrogen? How many? That's 2. Contains 2 grams of hydrogen. Okay? So if that is the case, what is the mass inside 1 mole? That's the relative atomic mass. The mass of 1 mole of water is actually what? You take note that it's 18. Hydrogen is 1 multiplied by 2. Oxygen is 16. When you add it up, you have 18. That means that the relative molecular mass of water is 18 grams per mole. Okay, that means 18 grams of water actually contains 2 grams of hydrogen. Don't forget, if they have given us the number of moles of carbon dioxide and water, we will not be bothering ourselves with the grams, okay? But since they didn't give us, we have to use the we have to check the mass of that carbon dioxide in 1 mole and the mass of water in 1 mole. and relate it to see the quantity of carbon and hydrogen respectively. Okay, so in this case, if 18 grams of water contains 2 grams of hydrogen, what will now 14.4 grams contain? 14.4 grams of water will contain what now? Will contain, let's call it Y of hydrogen. We need to get that Y. How do we get that Y? Pardon me, I'm going to illustrate it here. So it implies that Y, as if you are cross multiplying, okay? Y multiplied by 18 and 14.4 multiplied by 2. Because 18, okay, let's write it that way so that you see it. We didn't write it in the case of this. That means 18Y is going to be equal to 14.4 grams. I'm not putting the gram, multiplied by 2. So that our Y divided both sides by 18 now, you are going to have 14.4 grams times 2 grams divided by 18 grams. I'm not putting the gram, 0.6 grams. This means that the quantity of hydrogen present in the mass of hydrogen present in water or in the hydrocarbon is actually 1.6 grams. Okay, so this is now 1.6 grams of hydrogen. Mind you, the solution is no longer as it appears. It's because I had to explain the procedure. All right, so don't forget what brought us into all of this is that we need the mass, the given masses of the component element or atoms that make up that compound, or the percentage composition. They didn't give us percentage composition, but they gave us an information that could help us get their corresponding masses. Okay, and that was why we had to take that approach. Now that we have gotten, we can now import. All right, given masses, given mass, or we'll put it as a calculated masses. Okay, don't worry, let's call it given masses. They didn't give us, but we calculated the given masses. For carbon it is 9.6, for hydrogen it is 1.6 gram. All right, so or we basically put it in gram. Okay, don't worry. Then what is the relative atomic mass of this element? The relative atomic mass of the elements for carbon is what? 12. For hydrogen is what? Is 1. You remember? All right, so what we do next is to now, we divide by the relative atomic mass. We divide by gram. Okay, this is relative atomic is 12 grams. This is 1 gram. You can ignore the grammage. So this will give us 9.6 divided by 12, and this is 1.6 divided by 1. So what will this result give us? I have 9.6 divided by 12. This is giving me 0.8. Then I have 1.6. Okay. So what's the next thing to do? I have already divided. This is what I have. So then the next thing I do is divide by the smallest value. What's the smallest value in this case? The smallest value is 0.8. So divide this by 0.8. Then you have 1.6 divided by 0.8. This will give me what? 1. And this will give me what? 2. Alright? So from here now, it is obvious that my empirical formula, therefore, empirical formula is equal to what? In 1 atom of carbon, that's what it means, and 2 atoms of hydrogen, CH2. Don't jubilate because that's just empirical formula. We need the molecular formula. That's what we are asked to look for. How do we now get the molecular formula? Don't forget I said that for us to get molecular formula, we need to first get empirical formula. And the relationship is that molecular formula is a multiple of empirical formula molecular formula is a multiple of empirical formula. Do you understand now? That shows that I can now say that, and if molecular formula is a multiple of empirical formula, to get that multiple factor, okay, we will need the masses of the molecular formula and the empirical formula. I can easily get the mass of this empirical formula, which is referred to as the what? The relative molecular mass of this compound, okay? And can I get the relative molecular mass of the molecular formula? I can, provided the information given to me will help me. So it's either they give me vapor density that will help me get the relative molecular mass, or they give me the relative molecular mass directly. But you take note, this question didn't give me vapor density. This question didn't give me direct value for the relative molecular mass. So how do I now get it? They gave us an information at the beginning. What was that information? 0.200 mole of the hydrocarbon. So they gave us the number of mole of the hydrocarbon. Then you recall from our mole ratio, or mole concept, that number of moles N is given by what? Given mass, or the mass of the compound or mass of the element divided by the what? The molar mass. So that I can now say that it implies that my molar mass is equal to given mass divided by the number of moles. What does that imply? They gave me the number of moles of the hydrocarbon. Do I know the given mass of the hydrocarbon? They didn't give me, but I've calculated something that will help me get the mass of the hydrocarbon. Do I know the molecular mass of the hydrocarbon? No, that's what I want to calculate. Okay, so that I will use it to get the molecular formula. So what I'm going to do now is to now first say, before this, is that I will now get mass of the hydrocarbon. Mass of the hydrocarbon is equal to mass of carbon, since plus mass of hydrogen, because hydrocarbon is made up of what? Carbon and hydrogen. What is the mass of carbon? Remember, we got it here to be 9.6 gram. What is the mass of hydrogen? We got it to be 1.6 gram. If you add it all together, that will give us what? That's 11.2 gram. So we have 11.2 gram of the hydrocarbon. So permit me to rub this out. Don't forget, this question is not as long as it appears, because it's an objective question. You are expected to solve this question in maximum of 2 minutes. That's the maximum time if you really want to finish all the questions. Okay, so if you can think very fast, you don't have to write all these things. You just be doing a sketch solution and you'll be fast. You see that you still be able to do it. Come to the worst, if I thought it take your time longer than necessary, maybe 3 minutes. Are you getting it? Now it's because I am explaining. That's why I have to remind us of other things before I put the solution. Actually, this is not the only approach. You could also have other approach, other methods of solution. Whichever one that you find easy, please stick to it. Okay, I'm just sharing this approach with us. All right, so now that we've gotten the mass of the hydrocarbon, that means therefore or we can now say, recall that number of moles is equal to mass over what? Molar mass. Which means the number of moles of the hydrocarbon is equal to mass of the hydrocarbon divided by the molar mass of the hydrocarbon. So I can infer that this is 0.2 equal to given mass, which is 11.2 gram, divided by the molar mass. Okay, if I cross multiply, okay, or you multiply both sides by this, you have 0.2 molar mass equal to 11.2 gram. Alright, so that the molar mass will become what? 11.2 gram divided by 0.2. And what will this give? So that is 56 gram. Do you know what that means? It means that the molecular mass of the hydrocarbon is 56 gram. I will just say that therefore molecular mass of the hydrocarbon is 56 gram. So that settles it. I can now come here, permit me to now rub this out. Don't forget the empirical formula is CH2. Alright. So I can now say that but relative molecular mass is equal to N multiplied by the empirical formula mass. Let me put it this way. Empirical formula mass, okay? It's like saying relative molecular formula mass is equal to N multiplied by the empirical formula mass. And what is that? Relative molecular mass is what? 56 gram equal to empirical, this is N multiplied by, what's the empirical formula? That's CH2 gram mass. So how do we get that? Carbon is what? 1 plus hydrogen is what? Sorry, carbon is 12. Hydrogen is 1 multiplied by 2. Then I have 56. Ignore the gram now. They are both in grams, but it will still cancel out. So let's deal with the numbers. So this will be N multiplied by 12. This is 1 times 2, that's 2. 2 plus 12, is that not 14? So I have 56 equal to N times 14. What is N? Divide both sides by 14. That's 56 divided by 14 equal to N times 14 divided by 14. So this terminates this. So you see that our N is going to obviously be 4. Okay? Don't now jubilate. So what is now the relative molecular formula? Therefore, relative molecular formula is going to be equal to 4, which is N times CH2. When you multiply, that's 4 into what? C, or you see it this way so that you will understand how we CH2, you can see it this way, all right? So that this will become CH2, okay, 4. Then you multiply it out. What do you have? You have C4H8. That is the molecular formula. Which option? Option D. It's as easy as that. Actually, I know that it looks very lengthy. Don't forget, it is not as long as it appears. It is because I had to explain. If you know that this this kind of topic, gives you challenge, I will encourage you to solve as many questions as possible. All right. There are 6 questions that involves water of crystallization. Okay, where you can even be asked to find the number of moles of water of crystallization present in that particular compound. There are various questions that could be set. Okay, the more questions you solve, the more exposed you are to the first approach to take when you want to solve questions on this empirical formula and molecular formula. I will encourage you that take more time to solve as many questions as possible. I'm going to drop some questions after now. Practice them and let's see what you are going to get. I pray that this that you have gotten today, okay, is retained in your mind, in your cerebrum, in the name of Jesus, so that when you need to apply them in the course of your forthcoming exam, you are able to appropriately apply them without any mistakes in the name of Jesus. God will grant you strength. God will help you to have a sharp and retentive memory in the name of Jesus. God bless you all. Please feel free to drop your comments at the comment section below, and let's know if there are other topics that are giving you challenge and you want us to treat. Take care of yourself.